Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. So today's video is all about choosing your wedding date and more specifically, the 6 mistakes to avoid when trying to settle on a wedding date. So choosing your wedding date is likely the very first thing you're going to do in wedding planning. You essentially need a wedding date to be able to move forward with the majority of your wedding plans. So this is a crucial step in the planning process, and choosing a wedding date that is going to make the planning process nice and easy for you. So make this decision that much easier for yourselves by not making the following 6 mistakes. Number 1, if you have any vendors booked already, maybe you have some type of relationship with a wedding photographer and you've already booked them because they did your engagement pictures, or that you knew for a long time you were going to have this photographer so you wanted to secure them. Or maybe you have a wedding planner prior to selecting your wedding venue and they're assisting you in finding a wedding venue. Whatever the case may be, if you have any wedding vendors booked, you have to consult them before finalizing a wedding date. So for most cases, your wedding date is going to be directly related to the venue that you choose. So typically, you setting the date means you booking a venue for that particular date. So make sure that you are in communication with any wedding vendors you have already communicated with or booked to make sure that everyone is available on that date. Number 2, this feels like an obvious one, but you'd be surprised how many small things get overlooked, and that is make sure you're referencing your personal calendars and syncing them together, so you and your partners. You know, in your mind, you might be thinking, next July, we've got nothing going on. That's over a year from now, so we can just set a date and make our plans around that. But just do yourselves a favor, look at your personal calendars, make sure you didn't plan some sort of camping trip with your family, or make sure there aren't other weddings that are going to be taking place with people that are going to be involved in your wedding. So just do the simple tasks of checking out your personal calendars. Number 3, very similarly, check with your family members, parents, any important people, and check on their personal calendars. You want to make sure that if you have parents or maids of honors, bridesmaids, groomsmen, best men, anyone that's going to be with you that is really important to your wedding day, make sure that you are kind of consulting them on the wedding date, and make sure that if it is important for you to have them there, that they are available for the dates that you are considering. Number 4, something that some couples don't think to do is checking out a local events calendar for wherever you are getting married. If you are getting married, whether that is in your own hometown where you currently live, or maybe where your family members live, or if it's a destination wedding, you want to be checking on events that might be happening during particular dates that you are considering for your wedding, as this can impact things like traffic, hotel stays, flights, and other factors. So you want to make sure that you're knowledgeable about what's going to be happening in the area that you plan to get married. For example, here in Missoula, Montana, there are several events that occur that can really impact the availability for hotels, as well as transportation, rental cars, Ubers, all that sorts of thing. And that is our college football team here. When it's Grizz game days, things get really crazy downtown and the hotels book up pretty quickly. Additionally, things like marathons. We have a big marathon that happens every summer, and it tends to be one of the most popular wedding dates as well. And so those two things coincide. It makes it really difficult, again, to book hotels. Flights are a little bit more expensive, and just overall travel costs and travel accommodations can be a lot more difficult during this time. So look up things like that to prepare yourself for what might be going on in the area. This could also affect things like road closures, if this is going to affect your wedding venue, or your guests being able to travel easily to your wedding venue. So this is particularly important for destination weddings, but should be taken into account no matter the location of your wedding. Number 5 is getting your heart set on a date because it sounds really nice. So for example, February 22nd of 2022 was kind of a fun date, 222222, or things that are all even numbers, things that sound good. If you think they sound good, it's likely that a lot of other couples are going to as well. So dates that sound nice, that have even numbers, that have double digits, that sort of thing, are just as popular with other couples as well. So what this means is it's likely going to be a little bit more difficult to find vendors on those dates, find a venue that date. So it's always a good idea to have a couple of backup date options just in case you are encountering a lot of these issues of having a difficult time finding availability on these dates. And finally, number 6, is disregarding the weather. Again, if this is a destination wedding and you have a lot of people traveling via plane or even just a long distance road trip, you want to take into account what the weather might be doing, as this can affect your guest arrival time. If you are getting married and you want a winter wedding in a place like Montana that tends to get a lot of snow in the winter, this can largely affect flights. We have delays all the time, we have cancellations all the time, road closures. If there's a heavy snow, you may not even be able to travel, even just from town to town within Montana. So take that into consideration when you're thinking about a wedding date, is what type of weather can impact that date. So obviously winter weddings is a little bit more of an obvious one, but things like hurricane season, if you are doing a wedding in a place that is prone to hurricanes during certain times of years, be knowledgeable about that and understand what hurricane season is when that takes place, and if you are at risk for that in whatever location you are thinking about. Something else that is somewhat weather related, but not necessarily the weather itself, is fire seasons. So that is very prevalent here in Montana. Typically in August, September is kind of when we have our fire season, and it's just gotten worse over the years, and it's something that I tell my couples to be aware of when they are scheduling a late August, even mid-August, sometimes into July wedding date, is that there is the high possibility of there being smoke. And for a lot of couples, they're choosing to get married in Montana because of the mountain views. And if you're getting married later in the summer, there's always a chance that smoke is going to roll in and completely block those views. So if you want to take that chance, there's still beauty and beautiful views all around you, but take into consideration all of the weather-related aspects that can affect your wedding as a whole. Choosing your wedding date is a huge part of the wedding planning process, and likely one of the very first things that you will do when planning your wedding. So make sure you don't make any of these 6 mistakes, and wedding planning is going to be a lot easier for you. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we'll see you next week.